Most overrated. So, John, you're the expert at this, way beyond me. So you know better than anybody. You get people's attention when you put overrated and underrated on anything.
Yeah.
So most overrated team in every conference. Most of them seem to be what you would think College Football Nation would agree with, except, okay, Iowa. I'm going to start there.
I mean, they have a great defense, but their offense was absolutely atrocious last year. If you look at every single statistical category, they were one of the worst. And most Power 5 coordinators that have those kind of numbers don't get to come back for another year. And Kirk Ferentz basically just doubled down and said, hey, we're going to do the same thing. They kind of they forced out Ken O'Keefe, the quarterback coach, and then moved Brian Ferentz to the quarterback coach. So that tells you how high Kirk Ferentz thinks about Brian Ferentz. And
something he's never done before.
Yeah, exactly. So, it frustrates me. I'm not a big fan of nepotism. I think, like for instance, I'm an OU fan. Bob Stoops hiring Mike Stoops and just the defense was horrible. I think that cost OU a national championship, having Stoops there longer than he should have been. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm very disappointed that Kirk just thinks that they can really just not make any changes on offense and can go on. And I mean, I guess they're sealing it. They just want to win the Big Ten West. That's their goal, because when they make it to the Big Ten championship, they're going to get smoked by whatever East team is in there. So that's kind of why I had Iowa in there.
Well, BGB, you said a number of things there that directly correlate to some things that come to mind for me with Iowa. The last thing that you said about Ferentz being just focused on the Big Ten West, because somebody made a comment to me. This was a couple months ago after one of his news conferences, because he kept citing that they had the 5th best record here. They had the 5th best record. And they were like, what's he talking about? The 5th best record. I said, he's focused just on the Big Ten. He doesn't even think about doing anything on a national basis. So when he's saying we've got the 5th best record over the last 6 years or whatever the time frame, he's just talking about the Big Ten because that's his ceiling.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we saw what happened when they played Michigan. I mean, they just got blown out of Indianapolis. So I don't know. It's frustrating for me because I have Iowa fans that are very furious that Ferentz is still there. Calling plays, at least just demote the guy to being a tight end coach, because he is a great tight end coach. I mean, Iowa, you could say, is tight end U, but just to not really make any changes and just say, hey, we're kind of just going to run at this again in 2022. I have a hard time digesting that, man. It's hard. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it looks. I expect kind of the same results. And the problem with Iowa is their they were I think 3rd in turnovers last year. I think they had 30 turnovers. That masked a lot of Iowa's problems on offense because the turnover game was huge for them. So we'll see if they can get, some games they had 4 or 5 turnovers a game. We'll see if that continues. I mean, they've got a great defense. I love Phil Parker. I think he's one of the best defensive coordinators in the game. But we'll just see if it can go on for another year.
Iowa had a bottom 10 defense or offense, I think number 123 in the nation, total offense last season. And that's not an aberration. This is going on year after year after year after year. I posted a video. I'm doing a series, John, where I'm saying, is this the year blank? Is this the year Michigan finally wins in Columbus? They haven't won there since 2000. Is this the year that Notre Dame finally wins a major bowl game? It's been since 94. Kind of fill in the blank. Well, with Iowa, I went with, is this the year that Iowa finally produces a top 50 offense? You got to go back to 2006.
Has it been that long?
A top 50 offense in the country.
That's wild.
And they don't do anything about it.
Yeah. Yeah, so that is my beef with Iowa.
Now, as you well know, again, you're in this game every day several times with these ratings and rankings, is you can rate or rank something and then people go overboard and think you mean much more than you do. So I'm guessing that and believe USC to be much improved, but we do a USC show here and people are just thinking they're going to a playoff. It's set in stone.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've got some great toys. I mean, Caleb Williams is a stud. You get Jordan Addison, but it comes down to the trenches. I don't know about their offensive line. I mean, I know they kind of struggled last year, but defensive line, linebacker. I think they're going to win 8 or 9 games this year, but I don't think they're going to win the Pac-12 just because they don't have those guys in the trenches yet. Lincoln Riley is great at getting that skill talent to wherever he's coaching, but he struggled getting the guys in the trenches, and that's been his downfall. When he plays these big SEC teams, you see it, that they just get manhandled up front. So they will. I don't think they'll go 4-8. Like with Clay Helton there, but I don't see them winning the Pac-12 and going to the college football playoff this year.
I haven't seen your head coach's rankings that I can recall. Do you remember what your thought process was on Steve Sarkisian? Because for me, he's a guy that underachieved at 2 programs that are capable of winning, of course, Washington and USC. Now he gets the Texas job, inherits a top 15 roster, wins 5 games.
Yeah. I think I had him in the, I want to say like 30 to 35 range, just because, they've got, he went 5-7 last year. He was not very successful at Washington. We saw it happen at USC. You look at their skill players. I mean, Quinn Ewers, who hasn't thrown a pass yet, but everyone thinks he's a Heisman front runner. Bijan Robinson is great. They've got a loaded wide receiver or wide receiver and running back room. Xavier Worthy is one of the best receivers in the game. It's just how are they going to do in the trenches? Very similar to USC. I mean, is that line going to hold up and let Quinn Ewers take his time and look at his progressions and make good throws? And is it going to open up holes for Bijan to run through? I mean, we saw that a little bit last year, but towards the end of the season, that offensive line completely fell apart. Same with the defensive line. So I don't know if they have enough guys depth-wise to maintain some sort of semblance of playing decent football in the trenches to maintain throughout the whole season.
Yeah, the offensive line's been atrocious for at least 5 years, and the defense loaded with talent. But I would point to Texas as being, and you talk about a culture change that needs to take place at Texas, and Steve Sarkisian, that's the heavy lift that he needs to make. I think there are more business decisions made by Texas defenders in the last 10 years than probably any big-time program in the country.